This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.
Welcome back. 20-year-old Jakyle Barry has been remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections following his arraignment in the magistrate court on Monday. Barry of the Berry Islands was charged with 11 counts of unlawful sexual intercourse with a female minor. According to prosecutors, the girl, who is now 13 years old, is 6 months pregnant. She was 12 years old when the alleged unlawful sexual activity began on August 1st, 2021, and ended in July of this year. Barry, who was represented by attorney Philip Hilton, was not required to enter a plea. Acting Chief Magistrate Shubasola Swain denied bail. However, he may apply for bail in the Supreme Court. He returns to court on November 23rd, when he will be served with a voluntary bill of indictment. Meanwhile, Dwayne Cargill also appeared before Acting Chief Magistrate Swain. He was charged with attempted murder. Particulars are that on Wednesday, August 10th, while in New Providence, Cargill tried to cause the death of Malik Wright. No further details were given. He too was not required to enter a plea and placed on remand. However, as he was represented by attorney Ian Cargill, Chief Magistrate Swain was informed that an application for emergency bail would be made. Young Cargill is expected to return to court on November 21st, when he will be served with a voluntary bill of indictment. One of the main reasons for murder suspects qualifying for bail is because oftentimes their trials take months, if not years, before they are called before the courts. The newly appointed Chief Justice Ian Winder said one of his main goals is to put a serious dent in the backlog of cases, which has been a challenge for the judiciary for many years. Attorney General Ryan Pinder says work in addressing the backlog has already begun.
Myself and the Minister of State are working on an agenda now. I spoke to the Chief Justice yesterday. We're going to have our first comprehensive meeting early next week. That agenda is in the works with respect to addressing the backlog. There are a number of issues related to that. One is infrastructure. So we look to have a central judicial complex and a plan to have a modern-day central judicial complex. Any of you that have walked through the courts, it is a rather disgrace, frankly, that we administer our judiciary in that state. And so we want to have now that's a longer-term plan, but we look to kick that off.
Mr. Pinder says he will seek to ask Chief Justice Winder to improve other aspects of the judiciary that are lending to issues of backlog of cases.
Part of the backlog and frustration also has to do with the timely preparation of orders and judgments after a trial. And in far too many instances in the judiciary, we see extensive delays in orders and judgments, which paralyze the litigants in the matter. The Chief Justice leads by example in this. He is renowned regionally for his attentiveness in being able to manage a court case and issue a judgment. And I'm sure he's going to lead by example with his colleagues in that, and he has the full support of the government to do what is necessary to help expedite judicial matters and cases in the courts.
With the Dorian Memorial just about 3 weeks away, the government continues its efforts to bring relief to those impacted by the hurricane 3 years on. The newest work towards this is the establishment of the Courage to Rebuild Fund, announced last week at the Office of the Prime Minister. Press officer at the Office of the Prime Minister, Gillian Gray, explaining the newly established fund will be on Alive's crowdfunding platform.
Many of you would know Alive's platform as a crowdfunding site for nonprofits. It's been widely used by many NGOs, even after Dorian. It really was launched and championed right after Dorian so that the rebuilding efforts can continue. People from around the world and the Bahamas can donate to this platform to give relief to those who need it the most. And so we thought it fitting to revive that, bring it back, and really impact the people who are on Grand Bahama and Abaco. So you will have an opportunity, those watching me from as far north to down south, you will have an opportunity to join in as we have this Memorial Week and really impact your brothers and sisters who are in the north.
Press Officer Gray goes on to explain the plans will be to launch the platform on September 1st, and it will run through the entire month of September. She says 4 NGOs that will remain anonymous at this time, including 2 from Grand Bahama and 2 from Abaco, will be the recipients of the funds generated through the initiative.
So these are well-known people in the community. We have collaborated with the ministers as well as community leaders there in the selection process for this. Again, this is an opportunity for you, those who are watching, to donate and to really impact those who are still on the island. As Clint said, you know, if you don't live there, sometimes out of sight, out of mind. But I have family members in Grand Bahama who would have had to go and run from water. So I know firsthand how it is, and I've just come back from there, and there are still people reeling from the effects of Hurricane Dorian. So we want to make a strong appeal to our Bahamian brothers and sisters to stand together, especially during this week, and lend your support to the Courage to Rebuild Fund. Thank you.
Again, you can check out the Alive crowdfunding platform, togetherbahamas.com, to get involved. And finally, University of the Bahamas will begin its fall semester with face-to-face classes in less than 2 weeks, with thousands of students descending on the campus, especially new freshmen as well. The university recently held an open forum partnering with Commonwealth Brewery Limited with the aim of increasing awareness about responsible drinking in an effort to reduce the occurrence of abuse of alcohol and other side effects that may come from such abuse. One of the panelists, emergency medical service educator Rashado Woodside, says many times EMS is called when it's too late.
But it's never a good thing when EMS has to be called. When we have to be called, you are at the too late line. Behavioral emergencies can occur from drinking too much alcohol. You begin to act erratic, as was expressed by Mr. Cash. And of course, traffic fatalities can also occur, as the Chief Superintendent would have expressed to you. What happens basically is that even with EMS, we have, I would say, an assessment tool that we can conduct to say that you are under the influence or impaired. Now, even with this assessment tool, I can alert the police officer, but again, the law enforcement part is up to them as to what they can do with you, but definitely you won't be driving away from that scene. Persons can refuse EMS treatment. Once you are an adult, age 18 or older, you can refuse even up to death.
Officer in charge of the Royal Bahamas Police Force Road Traffic Department, Chief Superintendent David Lockhart, says the legal limit of alcohol is 0.08% and urges students to not go beyond their limit, as it may lead to death or serious injury to themselves or innocent victims.
You can see it. You can see people driving on the road, driving in excess speed, and especially on the weekend, that Thursday into Sunday morning, that those are the peak hours. That's when we see a lot of our crashes. And I would tell you, alcohol is a suppressant. So marijuana would be an upper, because you get jittery, and you want to eat. With alcohol, the only thing you want to do is sleep. So if you're driving and you're under the influence at 45 miles an hour, you could forget it. I would say, as young persons, you need to be very careful, because if you do get into a crash and it turns fatal, then the charges are very severe these days. Vehicular manslaughter carries anywhere from 5 to 15 years of jail time.
In 2017, the University of the Bahamas made it a policy that all students be educated on the campus's drinking policies, which states that UB events that offer alcohol are for individuals 18 and older. Those under 18 must be provided with a band or stamped for ease of identification. Any UB student under the age of 18 accessing alcohol on campus would be subject to disciplinary actions. The police are hopeful that the forum was informative and will help to ultimately lower the occurrences of drinking and driving. And that'll do it for your JCN Evening News. Once again, I'm Jareno Saunders. Thanks for joining us.
This segment of the news has been brought to you by Sun Oil Limited.